Well, a very good morning and thank you very much for joining us on GBS Morning Extra. It is the 22nd day of the month of January 2020. I'm glad that you've joined me today. And this morning we're going to start straight away with some recap of stories that did take place yesterday. Traders operating at the Mandera Bus Park have been evicted by the county government to pave way for the upgrading of the bus terminus. The eviction follows a 1.5-month vacation notice issued by the Mandera County government.
Serikali tusaidie. Juu sasa hii notice wameweka, naona haifai. Wangetupea muda at least tutafute mahali ya kufanyia kazi. Sasa tukiambiwa tuhame tutafanya namna gani? Na tunalipa ushuru.
Tumepewa muda ya mwezi na nusu. Mwezi tumemaliza, nusu tumemaliza. Tunaongojea mwezi hiyo ingine. Notice serikali ikipeana watu samani ni miezi 3. Hatujawahi kuona serikali, hatujawahi kuona county government, hatujawahi kuona national government. Mtu yoyote kutoka upande ya serikali, hakuna mtu tumewahi kuona hata siku moja mtu mmoja amekuja hapa Passport.
Tupie nafasi tufanye biashara zetu pole pole. Ile pesa mnakuja nayo kama ni ya kujenga, muende utafute plani mzuri. Hamna hata plana mzuri. Ndio tunaona mnaenda kuweka soko ingine kwa msitu. Nani atanunua soko kwa msitu? We need a strategic plan.
Well, moving on to other matters, police are investigating the death of a 54-year-old man who is believed to have committed suicide owing to domestic squabbles. Saul Anyenje, who hails from Malava in Kakamega County, is alleged to have been frustrated after his estranged wife declined to return despite sending her fare 3 times. The final straw was when she squandered money he had sent her to pay for their child's school fees after he sold a cow. Let's listen in.
Tana kwa kila wakati na ni muda mwingi wakifurutana. Nadhani wakati huo bibi yake alitoka kaenda na Saul anapenda bibi yake pamoja na familia yake.
Huyu mama Saul alikuwa amempenda. Hata mwaka ile iliyopita alichukua kondoo yake akauza. Saul akaniambia nikafuata yeye na huyu Aaron tukaenda paka kwao.
Naye akanipatia pesa nitumie bibi yake alete watoto waende shuleni. Wakaongea na bibi yake wakaelewana wadoda akuje. Baadaye wakati alitaka confirm amepokea pesa, aliitikia amepokea pesa, akasema na watoto hawakuji.
Nikipeleka huko pesa kwa mke yake anichukua.
Well, quite saddening there. The rate of suicide in the country is on the rise, and this actually shows the amount of how much the social fabric is being eroded. Moving on to other matters, speaking with parents at the Kiambu County Township Primary School, Special Needs Chairman Francis Gitao asked the parents not to hide their children with special needs at home, but register them in institutions that work with those children.
Mtoto kama huyo, the best you can do ili kumsaidia huyo mtoto na mzazi wake ni kumwambia kuna kitu inaitwa assessment. Mpeleke huko. Na the earlier the better. Tuna emphasize mambo yanaitwa early intervention. Kwamba mtoto ambaye ako na ulemavu wowote akitambulika mapema pia ni rahisi kumsaidia. Lakini ukikaa naye afike miaka 10 au zaidi, hasa kuanzia miaka 8 kwenda juu inakuwa ngumu kuanza kumsaidia.
Na tunashukuru wazazi wa hao watoto kwa sababu mmewaweka vizuri, hamkuwaficha, mmewaleta kwa shule. And I am sure they are much better wakiwa kwa shule kuliko vile walikuwa wakiwa nyumbani.
Well, moving on to another story, we cross over to Europe, where UN Chief Antonio Guterres said that participants in the International Conference on Libya in Berlin sent a strong signal that they are fully committed to supporting a peaceful resolution to the crisis in the country, and stressed the summit's conclusion that the UN chief urged all participants and the international community to abide by their commitment to unequivocally and fully respect and implement the UN Security Council arms embargo. The Secretary General hoped that the commitment made by the players would create the conditions for a lasting solution to the Libyan crisis, adding that it is our collective responsibility, end of quote, to seize this opportunity and to ensure those commitments become a reality.
I cannot stress enough the summit's conclusion that there is no military solution to the conflict in Libya. All participants have mentioned it several times during the meeting, even those that are more directly involved in the conflict itself. And today, all participants committed to refrain from interference in the armed conflict or the internal affairs of Libya. This is part of the conclusions. And of course, these must be adhered to, as well as the call to silence the guns with the termination of all military hostilities. Until now, we had an escalation of a Libyan conflict with some foreign interference. Now we were facing the risk of a true regional escalation. And that risk was averted in Berlin, provided, of course, that it is possible to maintain the truce and then to move into a ceasefire. But that escalation that was taking place and was becoming extremely dangerous, today there is a strong commitment to stop it. And this, I think, is a very important result of the Berlin Conference. I think we are witnessing something that is totally unacceptable. It's a constant violation of international law. It's Security Council resolutions that are not being respected. And this is taking place, as you know, this is taking place in the recent past in Libya. So I am totally convinced that the members of the Security Council need to assume their responsibilities for the body itself to be taken seriously in the context of the Libyan conflict.
Now we cross over to the Middle East, where anti-government protesters have clashed with police in central Beirut, leaving more than 370 people injured. The latest violence come after months of unrest over demands of political reforms in Lebanon. Over the weekend, Beirut saw some of the most violent unrest anti-government protests that began in October, with security forces using water cannons and tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse crowds on both Saturday and Sunday protests. The clashes capped what organizers had called a week of anger after a slowdown in the mass protest that began in Lebanon 3 months ago, forcing the then Prime Minister Saad Hariri to resign. On Saturday, demonstrators clashed with riot police before a planned protest on the road to Lebanon's parliament building, with violence escalating throughout the night. More than 370 people were injured. This week, the protesters have also turned their anger on banks, vandalizing dozens across Beirut. Now we cross over back to Europe now. Prince Harry addressed the reality of his exit and the past few weeks of turmoil on Sunday night at a dinner in honor of the supporters of the stable charity he founded many years ago. In the extremely personal statement, the monarch also singled out Meghan with praise. According to the terms in this statement, Meghan and Harry will no longer be able to carry out royal duties and will drop their his and her Royal Highness titles, and also will not receive public funding as of spring 2020. They will also pay commercial rent on their UK home, the Frogmore Cottage, and reimburse the British public $3.06 million used for the renovation of the premise.
I must say that I can only imagine what you may have heard or perhaps read over the past few weeks. So I want you to hear the truth from me, as much as I can share, not as a prince or a duke, but as Harry, the same person that many of you have watched grow up over the last 35 years, but now with a clearer perspective. The UK is my home and a place that I love. That will never change. I've grown up feeling supported from so many of you, and I watched as you welcomed Meghan with open arms, as you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life. Finally, the second son of Diana got hitched. Hooray. I also know that you've come to know me well enough over all these years to trust that the woman I chose as my wife upholds the same values as I do. And she does. And she's the same woman I fell in love with. We both do everything we can to fly the flag and carry out our roles for this country with pride. Once Meghan and I were married, we were excited, we were hopeful, and we were here to serve. For those reasons, it brings me great sadness that it has come to this. The decision that I have made for my wife and I to step back is not one I made lightly. It was so many months of talks after so many years of challenges. And I know I haven't always gotten it right, but as far as this goes, there really was no other option. What I want to make clear is we're not walking away, and we certainly aren't walking away from you. Our hope was to continue serving the Queen, the Commonwealth and my military associations, but without public funding. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible. I've accepted this, knowing that it doesn't change who I am or how committed I am. But I hope that helps you understand what it had come to, that I would step my family back from all I have ever known,
Well, quite a bold step there by Harry to denounce his, royal, what would I say, entitlements to just decide to be a commoner and live his life as Harry and not as His Highness Prince Harry. And that is one of the conditions that stepping away from this would result to. We move on now to the Americas, where the UN Chief Antonio Guterres renewed the organization's commitment on the commemorating the 10th anniversary of the Haiti earthquake to honor the legacy of those that gave their lives and also who lost their lives by working alongside the people and government of Haiti.
At a special event for the anniversary, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres led a wreath-laying ceremony at the New York headquarters to honor the memory of the hundreds of thousands of Haitians who lost their lives in the devastating attack on the 12th of January 2010 and to express condolences and solidarity with the millions who continue to suffer the impact of this tragedy.
Today, we renew our deepest condolences to the families and friends of the victims and our sympathy for those whose lives continue to be affected by this tragedy. And we also renew our commitment to honor the legacy of those we have lost by working alongside the people and government of Haiti and with the country's friends and supporters throughout the international community.
Guterres also noted that following one of the darkest days in its history, Haiti drew on the courage and determination of its people and the assistance of its many friends. The UN chief reiterated that the magnitude of the tragedy was such that it took many years for any sense of normality to return to the country.
Among the many challenges, the United Nations deeply regrets the loss of life and suffering caused by the cholera epidemic. I welcome the significant progress that has been made towards eliminating the disease, and we are also committed to resolving pending cases of sexual exploitation and abuse.
Antonio Guterres also paid respect at the moving new memorial, a wreath that has been brought to New York. The Minusta Earthquake Memorial was created by Italian artist David Domino and installed in the MINUSTA headquarters at Log Base in 2010. The work of art entitled A Breath is a murmur, a sound, a whisper, the instant before the earth begins to shake. The same breath of air blew the pages with one falling to the ground. The following page bears only the first name of the beloved, missing colleagues, not in alphabetical order, because we are all equal facing death. It is a work that defies time, space, and gravity, just like the Hainan people. Reporting for GBS Morning Extra, I am Wawira Doreen.
Well, we move on now. The hundreds of migrants waded into a river on the southern Mexico border as they tried to reach the United States. Migrants, mainly from Honduras, took to the water after being refused permission to cross a bridge over the Suchiate River. Mexico has cut off migration routes to the United States under pressure from President Donald Trump. Mexican National Guard troops with riot shields tried to stop the migrants from climbing the riverbank, but hundreds appear to have breached police lines and entered Mexico. Many of the migrants on the Mexican border say that they are fleeing violence, poverty, and high murder rates. Well, indeed, talk about desperation. That indeed is desperation to get away from what they term as poverty, murder, and also high rates of violence in their country. Now, to the United States of America, the Senate, the Democrats in the Senate participating in the impeachment hearing of President Donald Trump have raised a red flag, saying that the new rules proposed by the Senate Majority Leader are preposterous and will deny Americans the chance to listen to the impeachment process as it continues.
Only got to see it probably around the same time that we did in the House. And the reason this was kept hidden is that it does not prescribe a process for a fair trial. And that truth is inescapable, no matter how McConnell wishes to structure this trial. But we will be appealing to the manager, we will be appealing as managers to the senators today to live up to the oath they have just taken, to do impartial justice, and to hold a fair trial.
I just want to add that this fixation on the Clinton precedent is weird. The Clinton trial was conducted fairly, but distorting what happened there shouldn't make a difference. The question is, should you have a fair trial now? A senator who votes to deny a witness, who votes to deny evidence, is voting to cover up the president's crimes and subversion of the Constitution. There's no other way about it. There is no conceivable reason to deny witnesses.
Well, indeed, quite there. We wait to see how the impeachment trial goes, and we'll be updating you on that as we proceed. Well, for any comments, suggestions, or opinion, you can drop us an email on info@gbskenya.com. You can also use our hashtag, that is hashtag GBS Morning Extra. Our Twitter handle is @GBS Kenya. Now, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Today, I'm being joined by a guest who has given everything, and his story is inspiring. Maybe you've met him, maybe not, but then this morning we are going to have this discussion of one Kenyan who has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. You won't believe this. We take a short break now. We'll be right back after this. Africa.